Hey there, and welcome to episode 74 of the Unapologetic Mumpreneur podcast, where I'm sitting down with the queen of business organization herself, Dani Smith, to dive into the secrets of transforming chaos into calm. If you constantly feel like you're running a marathon with no finish line in sight, this episode will give you the tools you need to finally regain control and go from surviving to thriving as a mum in biz. Mum of three, caregiver to her husband who has multiple medical conditions, and mum to a child with special educational needs and autism. Dani is also a business mentor, operations manager, and author of the book Business Fundamentals: Streamline and Organize Your Operations for Success. Known as the Queen of Business Organization, she empowers service based business owners to thrive in their businesses no matter the challenges that they face. Her superpower? Turning life's curveballs into opportunities for growth, helping her clients increase profits without working harder. Join us as she shares her incredible journey of managing a neurodiverse family while running two businesses during the pandemic, and how she freed herself from the constant whirlwind by turning her struggles into superpowers. From handling the unexpected when it feels like your business is falling apart, to creating a dream schedule that aligns with your life. Whether you're a mum just starting out or a seasoned pro looking to refine your systems so that you can scale your business and have more time for the things that matter, this is the conversation you have been waiting for. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business, and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dew, life and biz coach for mumpreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mumpreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hey, Dani, and welcome to the Unapologetic Mumpreneur podcast.
Hi Sarah, thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm super excited and looking forward to diving into everything that we are going to be talking about today and all of your great tips for being the queen of business organization. So, just in case those that are either watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast, haven't met you before, do you want to just share a little bit about yourself, your family, your journey, who you are, what you do, and how you've got to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. So I am, as I say on the tin, the queen of business organisation. Haven't always been. It took a long journey to get here, but I literally help entrepreneurs, mums in business, women to predominantly service-based businesses running it and being organised, looking at how the businesses run, operations and strategy, marketing, all of that stuff, but in an organised way that you can streamline and be super efficient because we all have other things going on in life. And this came about because I am a mum myself. I've got three children. One of them is neurodiverse, and then I've got a husband with six diagnosed conditions, and he's actually going to going through assessment for neurodiversity as well. I believe I am undiagnosed ADHD, and I've struggled with my mental health. And throughout all of that, like happening all at once, plus we threw the pandemic in a few years ago. While I was working and running two businesses, it was quite a challenge to juggle. So I needed to be organised to kind of keep things going, to keep all the balls in the air. And I realised very quickly that without being organised, without knowing what I'm doing each day and where I needed to be, that then I would just lose control. And don't get me wrong, I'm not an advocate for doing so many things like I did back then. Definitely not, because you've got to look after yourself as well. But when you are juggling things like life with a family, like we've even got a dog as well, like if you've got all these things going on, especially when you're going through things that are considered like adversity and things like diagnoses for autism and ADHD and health issues in your family, it can be quite challenging to run a business. So I love helping people to do that and show up regardless of what I call external circumstances, which is what my superpower is actually, showing up regardless of what's going on. And so I love help people doing that. And the biggest way I do it is through business organization.
That's amazing. I love that you call it your superpower as well. I think that is brilliant. And it can be so hard just at the normal best of times of trying to juggle family life and home life, business life, everything in between. And like you say, throw dogs into the mix. I've got two French bulldogs and dealing with all the sort of different diagnoses. And we've got some neurodivergency in my family. I'm pretty sure I've got undiagnosed ADHD myself, and it's taken me a long time to realize that. And I've only really this year I'm getting my head around how and understanding why that's the way that I work sometimes. And you definitely have, when you've got all of that going on, you need to have that organization in place. You need to be organized in all of those different areas, don't you? Just so that you can cope with the day to day and get things done without then trying to run our businesses as well. And then especially when you throw other circumstances into the mix as well, just to be able to keep your head above the water and not be able to want to just throw it in the towel. I think that's amazing. And I know you're going to be sharing some of your like experiences of dealing with extenuating circumstances and how to just keep going really, and then also going to be sharing some tips as the queen of business organization of how we can get organized and get on track so that we can feel like we're winning most days at least. So how have you faced challenges that you've meant that you've had to have the circumstances change in your business? Do you want to just share some of those with us and how you've actually coped with and adapted to those?
Yeah, it's not been easy, and I think for most people it's not. I'm I was going to say I'm fortunate, but actually I chose this, so I guess it's not luck. Because so I have had comments before like, "Oh, you're so lucky that your husband can watch the kids at home while you work," and I'm like, "Yeah, but is it really lucky though? Because actually he's at home because he's got really bad health conditions that affect him daily." So I don't believe luck is a thing. I think we choose and we react to the things that we're faced with. And for me, the biggest thing has been reaching out to people, building connections with people. So whether it's, around parenting or around business, currently my health, I'm working with a few mentors and I'm working on my health. And it makes a massive difference to speak to someone who has been through what you're going through or is the expert, or just get that guidance, whether it's your best friend, your mum, whoever it is just to speak to someone about what's going on. And I know a lot of people, especially with mental health, they say open up and talk, don't they? But it does help you get through it. It really does. And that's one of the biggest things I've done. Not just a bit like talking to people in my life, but networking to find new people to connect with, which originally I did that to grow my business and to meet new people because we want clients in the beginning, and that's all we're focused on. But I got so much more out of it, like friendships, people who just get it as a mumpreneur, I guess, as well, who understand what I was navigating. And actually, if it weren't for the parents that I did connect with that also were business owners, I wouldn't have been where I am now in terms of supporting my family whilst running my business, because they give me the advice in terms of being a mum of a neurodiverse child that I had no idea around how to manage that. So I took on that advice whilst doing what I'm good at and showing up for my business, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. So definitely that's something I always recommend to do, is to connect with people and get that support.
Think that's so important because sometimes we can think that reaching out for help is a sign of weakness, but actually it's a sign of
No.
strength, and we can't do it all on our own. Nor should we need or have to. And we just need to have that tribe around us, and it can make such a difference to connect with and find people that just get it, whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's the juggles of running a business and being a mum, or that your kids you've gone through, whether they're going through diagnoses of neurodivergency, whatever it might be, and even with our own selves of having our own mental health struggles, we need to be able to just know that we've got that tribe around us, that we can talk to people. And when you do go out and connect, it makes such a difference because it helps you realize that and gives you that encouragement encouragement that you're not alone, that there are other people going through it too, that some of the thoughts you have in don't, mean anything in particular, that actually they're having those same thoughts and worries and concerns and stresses as you. And it can make such a difference. And you are so right, because I initially, like you, went out with the networking in mind to go and actually just find women to help me connect with, to grow my business, to spread the word, to collaborate and all of that jazz. But I have made so many friends since doing that, and biz besties that get it, that understand what it's like, that you've got people to reach out to. And it's just so important. So I think it's definitely whatever you're going through is having that tribe. And I think the other point you mentioned as well about just knowing what is going on and accepting and looking at what you can do to do it, and having that choice of, you can't always control what's happening to you, but we have that choice, don't we? We can choose how we respond, how we react, and what we do going forward. That, okay, we may not be able to change the situation, but we can change how we respond and react to it. And I've definitely found, like, some of my extenuating circumstances that we've had to go through as a family, of my breast cancer journey before I started my business and my ongoing treatment while I was running it in the early days. And right now my father-in-law is terminally ill, and we're having to juggle being here in Essex and going down to Sussex as often as we can to see him, to make the most of the time that we have. And that impacts on everything else that's going on, doesn't it? And just having to juggle with that and manage it while everything else is going on, to know that you can have those strategies up your sleeves and still carry on and do what you can to be organised, can make such a difference, can't it?
Yeah, it really can, and I agree with that so much, because like choice really is a big thing. Like past me would have, I used to not do anything so I left my employed job twice, and the first time I didn't do anything but would moan at the end of the day that I've had no sales come in. And looking back, I'm like, just get off your bum and do something, like talking to my old self. Which is not a polite way to say it to people listening, is it? But there was a choice whether I went and learned the strategy, or, the marketing skills that I now have, which I obviously eventually did. It took years, but I did. And there's a choice to just go and learn it, try it, test it out. If it doesn't work, keep on trying again, because I can sit there and moan about it and not do it. But that's choosing to react to it in, like, not the way that's going to get the result. And it's the same with anything that might impact your business. It's ironic actually, because the unapologetic mompreneur, and I'm actually going to unapologetically say, don't choose that. Choose how can I make this happen. And I'm a big advocate of this, because like I said earlier, it's my superpower. But when I'm faced with stuff, I used to throw a wobble. And obviously we've got to process, and if that's the way you process, that's fine. I still do it. I'm not perfect, but it used to last me days, and like I wouldn't move. So like if something happened in my life, like health, for example, someone in my family was diagnosed with heart failure at the end of last year, and we're in and out of A&E nearly every day, and it was so scary. And in those moments, I just continued working. And like, this might be surreal to some people, but there's nothing I can do to help that person while they're sat waiting in A&E, unless I'm physically there with them, which I did offer actually. I was going to drop everything and go, but my sister was there. So I knew that she was okay. And it's like, in that situation, it doesn't serve anyone if I sit there doing nothing and just in my own head. So I chose to just continue, and I actually choose what my mind focuses on. And just having that strength to do that, absolutely got to build up to that. But choosing what your mind focuses on so that you can show up in your business and do the things that you want to do. And I think this comes first before I even, and I hate saying this because I love organization and strategy, but before we get into that, you need to work on your mindset first to then be able to do that productively.
Yeah, that is so true. Mindset really is everything, isn't it? And everything
Yeah.
starts and ends with us. And just once we realize, and it took me a very long time to realize it, but once I realized that I wasn't my thoughts, that I had the power and the control to be able to decide how I react, how I think, how I take action, that it changed everything. And it's really freeing that your thoughts aren't you, and that you don't have to follow those. You can choose what you want to believe, and like you say, be it unapologetically. That's exactly what this podcast is all about, of actually saying that we have that choice, and I'm unapologetically going to go and do it the way that I need to do it. And I can be the same sometimes. If things aren't going my way, I'll cut my little strop for a few minutes, I'll sit and huff and puff, and then I think, right, come on, Sarah, what am I going to do about this? I've got a choice, like getting for clients, or getting new subscribers on my email list, or actually hosting the bundle that I keep talking about hosting that I'm going to be doing later this year. It's kind of like, am I going to do this or not? Even launching this podcast, I spent 4 years procrastinating on it because I was so worried about putting myself out there, and all these different reasons and these other external circumstances and things going on just kept me saying this isn't the right time. And then last year I had to give myself that kick up the backside and go, okay, do you still want to do this? Are you going to do it? Then why are you sitting here not doing anything about it? And it's so easy to use all of those external circumstances as an excuse. But like you said, sometimes what those situations are that are happening, like your family member in A&E, you couldn't do anything for them to make them better at that moment in time. They were in the best place that they could be. That the best thing for you to do at that time was to continue working. And we just have to ask ourselves, don't we, of what is best for me to do right now? What can I do? Where can I be? And what can I do? So in all of those challenging times, how did you continue to show up and grow your business regardless? What's some things you did?
I have got practical things that I like to share. So obviously mindset work has played its part. I've worked on that a lot. I still do because it's so important. And I have surrounded myself with people, like I said, that to support me. So this has not just been my network, but like mentors, coaches, and in specific areas. Because I know I am one, I am a mentor and I am a coach, but I've always had one apart from 3 months last year. And that was the worst time of my life. And I recognize the difference because we actually moved house. No, my husband had surgery first. That was meant to change his life because it was meant to fix the problem they had. It did fix it, but then something else happened that basically back at square one. So that happened, and then we moved house 4 weeks later. So I had to pack. I did have a bit of help from family, but pretty much had to pack and move all on my own. Because he couldn't help me, and he was just sat with the kids like watching me, and he hated that. He absolutely hated not helping. And then 2 days later, living in this house, we'd ordered this beautiful new bed, spent a lot of money on it. He couldn't even sleep in it. He got admitted back to hospital. And at that time, I didn't have support. So other than that time when I didn't have support, I have always worked with someone, which I feel is really important. And I know a lot of the time it's not attainable, it depends on your income and stuff, but I definitely recommend it if you can, or working up towards that. And I've vowed to myself never to do that again, because at that time it was stressful. I ended up letting a few clients down trying to navigate having a new house with no internet and, trying to still show up. I tried, but it just weren't happening. And then at the end of that, it was just accepting it and moving on from it. What actually happened is a lot of the stuff that I do now and teach and talk about in terms of being organized wasn't happening at that time. And I realize, and I think most people realize, once you've done it and you don't do it, you realize how much you need it. So some of the practical things that I'd recommend is, I always say first is planning. And a lot of people don't like planning things because once they've created something like a structure, they believe it takes away a lot of flexibility and freedom, but actually, I believe the opposite. It actually creates freedom. So once I've put my non-negotiable things in, like my business and work and family and health at the minute, and prioritizing all of those stuff, I can see what space I have got left to. I'm very creative, so I love anything artistic and creative, and I've got time to then do that, or reading, or at the minute I'm studying, so I'm spending extra time studying a certification that I can't wait to do. And it's those things that we feel like that and excited about, we want to fit in. So actually looking and planning how I'm going to spend my time and what I'm working towards, it gives me that freedom to do more of what I love. And I just love that. And I came across a saying a few weeks ago about building your business around your life and not the other way around. And I realized that this is where I have been going wrong, and most people do, is we work first and then we enjoy our life. And actually, I'm working on the reverse of that now, how I can reduce the hours that I'm doing so I can live my life around my business. And to be honest, living my life does include my business, because I love studying and I love learning and I love going to business events, and that's the fun part of it. So I might be doing more of those, and people think, well, that's not freedom, but it is to me. It's what it means to you. So planning first and foremost, definitely. It's as simple as setting some goals and then deciding what you want, and then actually planning it into your diary. So every Sunday, regardless, I don't even have this scheduled in a certain time. People think I do. I'm not that structured. I'll come across it. I can be sometimes, but on a Sunday, like, I just know on a Sunday, I'm going to sit down with my diary, with my calendar open, and look at what I'm working on this week, look at my goals, and decide what tasks I'm going to do this month so that they align with what I'm working towards. So that I'm not doing something this week, for example, that actually I don't need to do for months because it's not like priority right now. Because I think we can easily do that. I get major shiny object syndrome as a creative mind. So that's the first thing is sitting down and having that plan every single week. And I literally plan weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, literally all the time, planning, and then it just makes it easier to execute. And I have this idea of what I call a dream schedule. So when it comes to being organized, it's not something you can create straight away, but just having that vision of it makes a massive difference. And I came up with it last year because I realized I wasn't able to fit in the clients that I wanted to fit in and have the biggest change for me was I always said last year that I want to have Wednesdays off. So that I've got 3 days off a week. It breaks up the week nicely. And that wasn't happening. So I kind of kicked myself that I'd not achieved that goal. I realised first it was a choice. I was choosing to work Wednesdays. So I switched that straight away, got into the mindset of choosing to have the day off. So I was having to navigate my schedule to this dream idea of having 3 days off a week. And it just started with that. And I thought, what else could I play around with and do this with? So your dream schedule exists in a way that it's the ideal world, ideal life. So mine is probably daft to some people, but in an ideal world, because I'm a morning person now, I'd love to get up at 4 a.m., work right through till 12, and then spend the rest of the day with my family. Of course, my kids are school age, so they go to school, so I've got a school run to do, so I can't do that. And until they do leave school, it's not ideal. So I know that now. So that will be my dream schedule I work towards. But for now, I'm adapting week by week, day by day to achieve that dream schedule. So, for example, I've transitioned in the last year alone to only working with clients on Thursdays and Fridays, to doing my content on Mondays and fully focusing on that so that my mind can be in the right place for that task at hand. And so that I can get those 3 days off. And I'm glad to say that in 2024, I have literally had every single Wednesday off, apart from when I've gone to a business event because it's still fun and it's that freedom that I like. But yeah, I've had it off and I've achieved that. So it's like looking at your schedule and thinking, right, what do I want to implement and work towards there and just making those changes step by step, definitely. So definitely that. So it's all kind of around your time, which is really important because we can't get time back. But other ways to be organised, actually, this frees up time, funnily enough. And it shows one of my values is obviously how I spend my time with people. But it's just using, and it does involve tech, but automating things, streamlining things in your business. Because put it this way, if you're in a place where you've got maybe 2, 3 clients, that's easy to manage the back and forth, the messaging, booking times in your calendar and all that jazz, right? But then if all of a sudden you've got 10 clients to manage, it's going to take up more time with that back and forth than it is to actually just send them a calendar booking link and let them book in. So I definitely think there's a place for this and streamlining processes as much as possible. And I work a lot around this because it's so important to make it as simple as possible for you to free up your time, as simple as possible for your client so that they know what the next step is, what the next action is, what they need to do when you're available and all that stuff. But then also for the experience together so that it is efficient, so that you're not waiting ages to come back to someone with a date in the diary or, the form that they need to fill in, the questions that they need to answer. So streamline it and have a process in place that literally, like my dream is to click one button and then there's a series of events, which can happen with automation, and then there's a series of events that happens following that so that, for example, when I welcome a new client in, they get the contract, they get the calendar, they get all the bonuses all in one place, and they literally have all the information and can just email me if they need anything else or have a question, and which is what they do actually. And it does give you back time, but it also means that it operates smoothly for your client as well. It's been a massive game changer for me, and I urge anyone that's afraid of the tech just to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and explore it. Like, we can always learn it, can always grow, and obviously if you're struggling on your own, reach out to someone. There's loads of free tools and resources. Google, YouTube are like my best friend. When you're learning anything like that, especially when I was first starting out, because I'm a whiz with it now, but I couldn't do it back then. So definitely streamline your processes and operations so that they save you time, but also help you deliver better as well, so that you can have better client management. That's definitely something that plays a massive part of being organised within your business.
Oh my goodness, that is all just amazing. There's so much there that I want to unpack. That is just brilliant. And having the idea of having a dream schedule is so good because that really gets you clear in your mind of how you want your day to look and how you want to run your business, what you want your life to be like. But then working back from that and knowing that maybe we're not quite there right now, or depending on what season of life we're in and whether our kids are at home, at school or not, and what's going on, to be able to have that vision and know that you're working towards it rather than being frustrated that you're not right there right now.
Yeah,
That is such like a mindset shift for it, isn't it? That's so, so good. And just doing what we can to be organized. And I definitely agree with you that frameworks of planning and having those give you that structure rather than actually being restrictive. Because for a long time I used to think the same, or maybe that's restrictive if I've done that, but now I can't do this. But I've learned over the years as well that, the more I've gone on in my business, actually have, and even personal life and family, of having that structure allows you to then prioritize what really matters to you so that you can
yeah,
make sure that it's a priority. Because I was doing exactly the same. And if, like what you said about having the Wednesdays off, I'd said to myself 2 or 3 years ago, I'm not going to work on a Friday afternoon. But it's only this year that I've actually been doing it as best I can. There's still a few weeks that I've missed, but then I was getting cross that I wasn't doing it. And I realized exactly the same. If actually, hang on a minute, I'm choosing to work on a Friday
yeah.
afternoon when
It's
I'd said to
okay.
myself that I wasn't going to. And then I was
Yeah,
getting cross with myself that I wasn't having that time. So it's really just tapping into, like you said, of just honoring those boundaries, isn't it? And using that
yeah,
framework to set up what your boundaries are actually going to be. And the automation side of things, oh my goodness, that has made such a difference for me in my business of having stuff set, because there's nothing worse than trying to book in a call with somebody, whether it's a podcast interview or just a discovery call or whatever, and you're just 10 emails back and forth of, can you do this date? Can you do that date?
yeah,
Having that calendar, doesn't it? It makes such a difference. And I've done the same now with my podcast too, that if anybody's applying to be a guest, I've got that Google form. I've added bits over time to it as I've thought of extra things. But even
yeah.
down to just like, what time zone are you in? And, can you attach your headshot bio picture for me now rather than later? Because otherwise I forget to ask for it. And then I'm going
That's
to
it, yeah.
create the graphics and I don't have it. So it makes such a difference, doesn't it?
It does, and actually, I do it the same way. So when I was speaking, like to come onto your podcast, that just makes it amazing for me because I work in that way too. So I was like, yes, because I have had that back and forth. And what actually happens is because if someone doesn't, I mean, I know in the beginning you may not have this in place, but if you're not organized, then what happens for me is because I'm so busy now, because I've got nearly 30 clients, 3 children, a husband, a dog, and like more people in my life. I've got more friends because I've been networking. So there's a lot to keep on top of. I'm always here, there, and everywhere. So to the point, my neighbour went the other day, you actually travel a lot now, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I do. And so because of that, my calendar is quite full. So if I've got the back and forth and I miss an email and then I can't pick it up again,
Mhm.
and then it might have been like Saturday, 3rd of whatever. And it's like, actually, I've already booked something in now. I've already put something in because I could click it and do it there and then. And I know some people don't like forms, they don't like the tech. And like I have had someone with ADHD who does struggle with forms, but that's one person. I don't mind reaching out and going, right, just message me the answers to these questions if it's easier for her, because I do like to be accessible. But it's most people will just go fill out the form and that's it. I book them in the podcast or whatever the situation is. And it does make it easier, yeah. So I love that. It just saves so much time and means there's no clashes as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't get somebody booking in just in between. And like you said, oh, actually, no, I'm not free now. It does make such a difference. And it does take time to set it up. I mean, I didn't have those systems in the beginning, but I've learned like the hard way as I've gone along. But I think it also helps your clients as well because it makes it easier for them, doesn't it? And it makes them
Yeah,
easier to get things done and everything is there. They're getting a good experience, which encourages them to want to work with you even more and all of that. So when talking about like external circumstances and being able to carry on regardless with what no matter what comes along, I know sometimes we've got no idea what's going to happen and life has that habit of throwing curveballs our way when we're not expecting it, and
yeah.
definitely had my share of those. But if you've got something coming up where you know it is going to be a circumstance that is going to throw things out the window or make it a little bit different. And I'm sure some of your clients have come across this when you're helping them with their business organization, is what sort of like, have you got any tips or strategies or systems and things that people can put in place to just prepare for themselves so that when it does happen or that event is coming up, they know that they can still like cope with everything and still get everything done?
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind then was have some coping strategies, but that's all about knowing yourself and what works for you. So I'm going to actually jump to the second thing that came to mind, which was always being ahead of yourself. Like Gemma Bray, who does the organised mum method, which is about cleaning, is amazing. And she had this saying, "Be your future friend," and that stuck with me when I heard that
Love
because
that.
what you do now will impact your future, and it's so true. And I see clients or people in my audience all the time that, oh, I don't like scheduling content because of X, Y, Z. And I'm like, right, that's fine, but you still have the freedom to post when you want. But if you've got something scheduled, for example, then you're still having a presence, because I see when people get ill or things that you're not, that's not in your control, and you kind of have to put your hands up and say, look, I'm going to have to step back from the business, which we
Mhm.
all have those moments, that then you're not visible because actually this illness became a week. Like there's been a few illnesses these days where it's lasting longer and the people are literally flawed. And so then you're unavailable for a week, which then possibly could actually impact your sales. So definitely think ahead. I did this at Christmas last year and I love sharing this story because I feel like I'm a real example of that. So I knew from research that a lot of people are spending more money in the time between Boxing Day and New Year, mostly because they get given cash. And I thought about myself and my own buying experiences because family give us like money, and so like I'm like, oh, what can I get for myself? And I do get myself something because it's the one time that I do, go and spend on me. And so in that time, I was like, right, so other people are probably in the same situation. So I thought, how can I do this without being present in my business? So I planned it in advance, like I think 3 weeks before Christmas, decided exactly what I was going to sell in a Christmas sale from Boxing Day till New Year. And I scheduled out the posts, I made sure that the emails went out. And what happened was I earned £300 extra that week. And it can be about money, it can be about time. It's not just about money, but this in this example, I earned £300 that week. And I wouldn't have had that if I'd, because I don't work at all for 2 weeks at Christmas. It's the longest period I do have off. And I thought, oh, this is a game changer. This, I'm definitely going to do this again. I mean, it wasn't perfect. Some of the tech didn't marry up, so I did have to respond to the odd email on Boxing Day, but I was making money while eating cheese and crackers, so I wasn't complaining. And that's what I love, and that's what I want to create for people as well. Be able to sit and eat your cheese and crackers, get a notification of another sale, and be easy. And so it creates that ease. So the only way that worked was because I was one step ahead. In fact, I was 3 weeks ahead of myself. I knew I was going to have 2 weeks off. I scheduled out those posts for that week for that sale. I scheduled out the emails, had it all prepared. I should have checked the tech a little bit better, which I will do this year. We always have to learn from it, don't we? But it worked, and I love that I could just sat on the couch and just quickly respond to the email, get the basically it was the delivering of the service. Like if it was a download, it wasn't. It's something didn't work, so I just like got it, sent it. Took me 2 seconds to fix. So in that situation, it does make a difference to be steps ahead of yourself, definitely. So if you can organize yourself that much, there is power than that. I do that weekly now with my content because I find this happens to not just me, but other people as well. We do our content, schedule it, say I used to do it a month in advance at one point, but then it got overwhelming to create as soon as that ended and it was scheduled and done, like, and now I've got none again, it became overwhelming. So I thought, right, that obviously doesn't work for me. So it does come through tweaking and changing, but I found a way that did work for me so that I'm always ahead. So every Monday, I am now scheduling the content for next week. So I'm always a week ahead. So even if by this Friday I get ill, I've still got a week's worth of content and a week to make up that time to do the week's after's content, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So just simple things like that in the way you manage your business and the way you implement your tasks can make a difference in being able to juggle all the things, I think, life and business. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. That is such great advice. And it's definitely true that, having that little bit of buffer time can make all the difference. Because in the early days of my business, I was constantly playing catch up of exactly the same and then feeling overwhelmed and
Yeah.
not having content for the next week. And that just it ended up being that love-hate relationship, particularly with Instagram, that I got so cross with it. I've now ditched it and I've got my 9 grid and that works for me. But it's also just generally, whether we know we've got things coming up or not, it's just planning it in advance and taking that
Mhm.
time up front. And although it can seem frustrating and unsexy and all of that to do it, we end up thanking ourselves later, don't we? And I love that
Yeah,
you said in there about being your future friend. That is such a great way to look at it, because we're actually, it can feel like hard work up front and we don't want to do it, and something more interesting comes along that we decide not to. But actually taking that time in front can make such a difference. And it's taken me a long time to figure that out, but I now, and like you said earlier about structuring so that you're doing your life to have your business fit as part of your life rather than your life being running around your business.
yeah,
I did the same in the early days, that I left my 9 to 5, my corporate stuff, and I was literally carrying on exactly the same as I was when I was in the corporate space.
yes,
And I realized that I didn't need to do that. And I was getting cross that I was playing catch up, that I was feeling behind. I was getting panicked every time it was, Harrison having another school holiday, that I had to like change it. So 18 months, 2 years ago now, I've now got my term time roadmap that I use and that I take all of my clients through. And it designs it so that your business fits around your family, that you do it
yeah,
based on the term times, you set the goals. And then when I know, like at the moment where the summer holidays were coming up, you can bet that month beforehand, I was recording podcasts, scheduling social posts so that I know that it's all done, so that I'm then free to spend time within this summer without going, oh my goodness, because I'm like you,
yeah.
I want to sit there and I want to eat my cheese and crackers and have my wine and just know it's all taken care of.
This is it though, isn't it? Like yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it wasn't because it was Wednesday yesterday, but on Tuesday afternoon, like I normally work till 3 when the kids are in school. So I still work till 3 even though they're at home. And then I could finish 3 on the dot, head off, and we went to the cinema. And it was just good to be able to do that because I've given myself that freedom to not have to, well, I say overwork. I mean, sometimes I do, but like we said earlier, it's about that choice to, because I'm so passionate about certain projects I'm working on, so I'll make the time to do it. But that's not something we want to be doing consistently, like always overworking and burning out, because it does lead to that burnout. It does lead to us getting poorly. So I want to have as many other mums juggling all the things as possible to feel they can manage it better, so that you can have the income you want, the clients you want, the success that you want, basically do those fun projects, but not be working yourself into the ground. Because I did exactly the same as you. I finished my job and literally I was running 2 businesses at the time, and then just take everything and just pile it on to my schedule. And before I know it, I'm actually, it's like I've seen a meme about it before actually. We are the kind of people that leave a 40-hour job to work 60, 70 hours or something. And
Yeah.
we laugh, but
It's
it's
true though,
because we,
isn't it?
yeah, and we've been conditioned to believe that we have to hustle and work hard to achieve success. And I think we've got to work on that within ourselves to break down that belief, because it's so not true.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's like having that boundary with ourselves, isn't it? That we don't need to do that, because I totally believe that I had to hustle hard when I first started.
Yeah,
And I've realized the way I've scaled back my hours, I'm not working evenings anymore. I get so much more done. I've made so much more progress. And that was because I scaled it back. And at the end of the day, with the whole, again, back to the unapologetic mumpreneurship, is that 9 times out of 10, mums in business, we start a business, one, because we're passionate about something and we know that we have something that we can help people with. But two, we want something that fits around family so that we have that freedom to do what we want to do. And I think we forget sometimes that actually we have that power to choose our own hours and to design our business any way that we want. We don't have to carry on and take into our businesses the past experiences of what work to work, before that was like, that we can
yeah.
just get there and do it. This has been such a fun conversation. I could talk to you for hours about this topic. We're definitely going to have you back. That would be amazing. And before we wrap up, I've got one question that I always like to ask all of my guests that come on the show. But before we do that, have you got any like final thoughts or any one piece of advice that you would like to share to everybody listening?
Always prepare. Preparation is key. And one of my favorite quotes is failure to plan is planning to fail. So prepare yourself with a plan, relating to what I said earlier, definitely.
Awesome, fantastic. And then, so like, before we wrap up and we share where everybody can find you, and I know you've got a freebie as well, so we make sure we link to
Yep.
all of that in the show notes. But the question I love to ask all of my guests is, what does being an unapologetic mumpreneur mean to you? And how are you showing up every day unapologetically, both as a mum and as the boss of your business?
So I'm going to be really honest and say it's continuously something I'm working on. I think we all are, even in everything we've just spoke about, definitely. And for me, being unapologetic as a mumpreneur is just knowing myself and being okay with that and showing up as that and just being, yeah, just being okay with it.
Love it. Brilliant. And I love that you shared that it's a work in progress. Absolutely. And it changes from day to day and season to season, doesn't it? We never have it
Yeah.
nailed. And there is no rules. And just as soon as we think we're getting somewhere, stuff changes, just like exactly what we've been talking about. So I love that you've shared that actually it's giving ourselves that permission to know that it is a work in progress, that we don't just wake up every day or one morning and it's all suddenly tickety boo. I love that you shared that. Thank you. So if people want to find out more and how you can help them to also become a queen of business organization and sort themselves out and get up and running, where can they find you? And I know you've got a podcast as well, so if you want to share about your podcast, we'll make sure that's in the show notes. And yeah, just to tell us a little bit about the freebie too.
Yeah, so I'll start with a freebie. So if you know and you recognise that you're really not organised and you want to work on that, I decided to create a toolkit because I created all these resources that I was using for myself, and then I started sharing them with clients. And the feedback I got from these was, "Oh, Danny, this is brilliant in different areas of your business." So I was like, right, I need to give this to people. So I decided to do it for free. It's become like a kind of like a mini course because it has the resources, so like things for managing your bookkeeping, like planning your content. I try to remember what's in there now. There's quite a few areas in there within your business that you can organise. But because some of them are like spreadsheets or documents that you might not be familiar with, I did a short video with each one, just showing you how to do it. So there's a toolkit there, and that's completely free, and you can get it at queenofbusinessorganisation.co.uk/toolkit, but Sarah will provide you with the link. So you can get that for free. And then if you want to come and connect with me, I'm on social media as Dani Louise Smith or the Queen of Business Organisation, pretty much everywhere to be fair, but predominantly Facebook and Instagram. And then I do have a podcast. I'm possibly going to change the name soon though, but if you search business growth, my face with pink hair is on there and purple and pink colours everywhere. But if you search business growth queens anyway, I will definitely come up and it will say in there somewhere Dani Louise Smith or Queen of Business Organisation. And we are very much the same style as this. Lots of conversations around topics around mindset, business and life. It's not just about business. Even my sister, who doesn't have a business, listens to it, and she cries too. I make her cry a lot. I don't intend to make people cry. I'll just add that disclaimer. So yeah, you can come and listen on there. There's loads of guests as well as my solo episodes. There's lots to learn and loads of amazing conversations on different topics there as well. So I'd love to welcome you to come and join me there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I will make sure that all of that is linked to in the show notes. And yeah, come and hang out, connect with us both. If you've got any questions, I'm sure Jani would love to hear from you on Instagram. Send me a DM. Let us both know what one of your biggest takeaways from this episode was. And yeah, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, Dani. We'll definitely have to have you back. This has been such a fun conversation. And thanks so much for everybody who's been listening and watching. And I can't wait to chat with you all in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.